Welcome. As you can see, if you're just popping in, Antonio popped the link in the chat box. We'll be using the chat box a lot tonight, and that's for the National RIA Cruise, and that is amazing. So highly recommend checking that link out. I'll pop it. I think he only sent it to the panelists, so I'm gonna pop that in there for you guys. All right, pop that in again for me, Antonio, when you can, or I'll get to it in a bit. But welcome, everyone. Good evening. A very special treat to have you guys at night when it's not a monthly meeting. So thank you guys for being here. My name is Alexa, COO of BPM RIA. Super happy to have you. This is Broward, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade Real Estate Investors Association. And we have an awesome webinar tonight with our local speaker, coach, short-term rental expert, Antonio Lopez, owner of Antlop Investment Properties, Inc. He is going to tell us what this even means here from zero to becoming a short-term rental hero. And I'm excited for you guys that are new here to hear about his story. So we'll get into that in just a moment. But just a quick announcement. If you stay until the end, you will notice that Antonio gets very generous towards the end of the webinar, and he will be giving some bonuses here and there for some people who are interested in working with him and doing a little bit more. So look out for the very end of the webinar. We'll be giving a couple bonuses for you guys that are here live today. Upcoming events, everyone, please take a look at the website. I'll go ahead and pop the link in the chat for you guys. I did add some events on there, but most importantly, we have a lot to take advantage of this end of the month. As I kind of told you guys when you were coming in here, we were on an Alaskan cruise last week, so we are making up for it for this end of the month because we were off last week. So we are making up for it. We have our free online training with our monthly featured educator, Alan Cowgill. That's going to be a private lending workshop on Zoom. Please go online, register. You will get a Zoom link once I get you in there. And that's free. And that's not because it's not worth anything. Trust me, it is worth a lot. So really excited to see you guys this weekend from 9 to 1 with Alan Cowgill. And next week, we are going in. We have learned how to save tens and thousands of taxes. We have a tax planning strategy webinar with advanced tax advisors on Wednesday, back to back. Thursday, we're going in with RIAFax, our deal finder software that we use. And both of these people right here, they teach in our boot camp. So really good webinars to attend. I know it's a lot, but we're getting into it. Mastering the art of finding motivated sellers with RIAFax. So again, very important. We use RIAFax in our programs. We love RIAFax, and excited to see you guys again on Saturday. We have two options for you guys here. This is going to be for, we know we plan two events in the same day. We're very well aware. We know these two events cater to two different people. So we are looking forward to seeing all of our Airbnb people, all of our short-term rental people. You don't have to do Airbnb to be in this workshop, but if you are having a rental that maybe you want to convert to a short-term rental, again, you would be a good person to be in this training. So if this is something you really want to do, if short-term rental is been on your mind for a long time, please take the time to reserve your Saturday and purchase a ticket for Antonio's workshop. He's going to tell you guys why you should be there and answer questions tonight, so you don't have to wonder if this workshop is a good fit for you. And for all of our other people that want to learn real estate investing, we're going to learn 20 ways to invest in real estate in this free in-person workshop with our CEO, Anish Dave, in Broward County. Quick one, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Look forward to meeting you guys. I'll make sure everyone is good in here. Don't worry, just because I'm over here doesn't mean I'm going to leave you guys out. I'm going to make sure everyone is good and has a great experience in our events next week. I know it's a lot, but we're really excited to get back into it and, finish this year off really strong. So if you're interested in text message updates, it's super easy. Text the word BPM REIA, all one word, no spaces, to our event line. I went and popped that in the chat for you guys because I want to move along a little bit. We have a lot to go over with Antonio. I know you guys are going to have a lot of questions. So if you got a text today reminding you of our event tonight, super convenient. The registration link is in there. If you'd like to get that, just go in the chat. I put it in there for you guys. BPM to 954-800-6961. Alrighty, boot camp. This is going to be our next 2-day online training in-house boot camp. November 11th and 12th. Yes, this is Veterans Day weekend. We wanted to squeeze one more boot camp in this year. We had high demand, high requests to get one more in. So we tried our best. Our schedules are crazy. We hope that we see you guys here for anyone who missed the last boot camp that we just had last month. So we're going to get into wholesaling, flipping, and rehabbing, a 2 full day online training. This is on Zoom, and we offer member and non-member pricing. If you'd like to get a membership and the member pricing, that's an option for you. The link is in the chat. And you can also check out the different speakers that teach on this training by clicking the link in the chat. So I'm here if you guys have questions, and I look forward to seeing you at the boot camp. Alrighty, members, as you know, you get all the goodies. You get in free for our quarterly networking events. Your guests come in at a discount of half price at $10. You get special member pricing. You get all the benefits that we receive by being approved by the National RIA, such as discounts to Home Depot, Rent Perfect, insurance, health insurance, Avis, budget, the list goes on. So if you're interested in getting your membership, I went and popped the link in the chat for you guys. You can get your membership right off the website. You can renew your membership right off the website. So any questions, I'll be happy to help.
That sounds like an American Express, right? Like the American, yeah, because the American Express comes with so many benefits.
So
like
many
you gotta
benefits.
use them. Yeah.
If you're using the benefits, the membership will pay for itself, just as, you know, with the money you get back on your credit card. So, all right, guys, last but very not least, mentoring and coaching at BPM RIA. Many of you might know we offer one-on-one coaching. If some of you do not know anything about this, I highly recommend going to our website and scheduling a discovery call with me. During this call, I can give you some more details about our coaching programs we have. It is truly one-on-one. It is very unique. We cover 100% of the money for our students' deals and split the profit 50-50. I can be more than happy to give you guys a brochure, breakdown of what's included, as well as pricing. Just go straight to the website. I put the link in the chat for you guys. Book a discovery call. So that's going to be a good time for you and I to both set aside time and discuss how this program would fit into your life. And then I'd also be happy to schedule this 1-hour free consultation with a mentor so that you can get even more questions answered and make sure that this program is a good fit for you guys. So thank you guys so much for always giving me the opportunity to let you guys know what's going on here at BPM RIA. I always want to take one last moment to thank National RIA, thank all of our vendor partners that you can find on the website. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I know this is not usual that we get together in the night, but I'm really happy because, you know, a lot of you guys work. So I'm hoping that this is helpful to at least one person in here. And thank you, Antonio, for taking the time tonight. We know you're very busy. We know that your time is valuable. So really happy that you can make this happen. And you guys, I'm going to be putting some helpful things in the chat throughout the evening, but I want to make sure that Antonio answers all of your burning questions and put those in the Q&A box. You're going to see on your Zoom menu, there's a box that says Q&A. Please go ahead and put your questions in there so we don't miss anything. Antonio is probably going to make sure you guys are still awake tonight. So if he does talk with you guys and chat with you, go put those chats in the chat box. Just chat with him there, and then get those questions in the Q&A box. And we are ready to rock and roll, Antonio.
All right. So thank you for everybody. Thank you to everybody for joining. Thank you, Alexis, for the introduction and for really talking to everybody about the memberships. in the program. Yeah, I mean, that's where I got started, just so everybody knows. So if you're not a member yet, right, just, you know, take the leap of faith and get yourself a membership. It's going to be, it will change your life, right? And with that being said, do you see my screen, Alexa?
Yes, it looks good.
Okay, good. Cool. Well, everybody, you know, what this means, kind of to answer Alexa's question from beginning from zero to becoming a short-term rental hero, it's essentially exactly what you're thinking about. It's from not knowing anything to becoming, you know, someone who's very well aware of what's going on in the market, who's attuned to what's going on at their property, who understands not just the market, but understands the different aspects of the business, including the aspect of making sure that your clients are happy, right? And so part of this, part of what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is exactly what I do in my business, right? And that really is maximizing your short-term rental profits, right? And you only have to spend 30 days or less, right? And at the end, when you set it up, you're spending less than 4 hours a week on this stuff, right? Like I've been on trips, like Alexa was talking about. I've been on trips to all parts, to all over the world, and let me tell you guys, it really doesn't take much once you set it up and you understand the concepts that we're talking about. So let's get into it. So what I love about this is that you can make at least 2x cash flow. Cash flow is the difference between, you know, all your expenses and what it is that you're making in revenue, right? So if you're making $2,000 and $1,500 of it is expenses, your cash flow is 500. So with STRs, what you can do is you can multiply that by usually more than 2 times, right? Usually it's like about 3, 4, 5, and sometimes even more, right? And that's like one of the wonderful things about the STR business, right? And not only that, but how to get started legally and like right away, right? So yes, let's all become millionaires, right? Let's all get in here and let's start making millions. So it doesn't quite work like that, right? You're not gonna make, you know, $1 million. You're not gonna make 70K on your first year just yet, right? Unless you get started with a coach. And by the way, guys, if you guys are expecting me to offer you guys something at the end, you're not going to be disappointed. There is a special offer at the end, and it's only for you guys on this webinar, okay? And just to give you a little bit of backstory, you know, at first, I just wanted to cover my bills. I just wanted to kind of cut even, and then I'm realizing that what I really want to do is be free. What does that mean? It means free from my bills, free from the worry that comes with not having enough money every month to be able to do everything that I want to do, right? So I came to the realization that $100,000 is only $273.97 a day, right? So if you can generate $273 per day, you're going to hit 100 grand a year, right? So far I've had 5 properties, 2 I sold, 1 I hacked, and I currently have 2 listings, and which together make over $77,000 a year, right? So this is actually a friend of mine. So aside from those, let me stop the share for a quick second. Aside from the properties that I've personally owned and worked with, I've also had several clients who I've worked with in the past. So just to let you guys know, you know, I had to test my formula out, right? Like one thing is me working on my stuff. Another thing is working on somebody else's stuff, right? And at the end of the day, the formula works, right? So I was doing that with my buddies. I've co-hosted, I've done everything you can do with a short-term rental business. I've gone as far as even house hacking, which for those that don't know what house hacking is when you're like living in a house and you're renting out the rooms, right? So I've done everything, and I have experience in pretty much everything. But let me tell you guys, let me show you guys a little bit about the results here. Let me go back and share the screen. So this is actually a friend of mine, George, and this is his property over here. And just a quick, you know, I'll let him talk for a quick 30 seconds.
And I just want to say,
I'm not sure if it's just me, but did the volume go out for anyone?
Do you guys hear it?
I heard it at first and then it went away.
Okay, let's fix that. Share sound. Here we go. Naj,
without even using the location. What's going on,
thank you,
guys? I'm
Alexis.
George Tovar, and
about now?
I just want to say, oh my God, I got my condo set up with Antonio Lopez, and this guy worked extremely fast. I had traveled for work. I hadn't been able to use my condo for like 3 months, so I just been dishing out $3,000 every month without even using the location. I gave Tony a call, and within 30 days, he had my place up and running on Airbnb. Easily every month generating $4,000 to $5,000 a month, enough profits left over, and all done within 30 days.
So I'm going to stop them right there just for the sake of time. I don't, the reality is that a lot of people have the same problem. And some folks already have properties. Some folks don't have any properties and want to learn how to do what's called a short-term rental arbitrage, right? Or Airbnb arbitrage. So the whole idea is this, guys, the formula works, right? And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm George Tovar.
Okay, let's go to the next one. So exactly what I was talking about. Who is this for, right? If you already have a property, right, and you already have an Airbnb, right, but you're noticing that it's not getting rented out as much anymore, right? Like you're seeing your occupancy drop and you have to drop your prices, right? There's little things that we can tweak to make this better for you. If you don't have a business yet and you want to hit the ground running, right? If you don't have a short-term rental business yet, I can teach you how to get started right away, right? Using other people's properties. And I'll tell you exactly what it is that you got to say, right? So, and if you're already, and this is a good one, right? Because there's a lot of folks that already have several properties under management. I actually had a gentleman approach me the other day with a 5-unit building that he wants me to essentially get started, get him up and running. And the reason is because there's so many little things here and there that you guys don't want to spend time figuring out. And I'll get into the story now, right? So what's an STR? Short-term rental. An STR, right, is what everybody famously calls an Airbnb, right? A short-term rental is it can be something that is rented out by days, by nights, by weeks, by months, right? But the whole idea is that when you rent out a property in short term, you're going to get short-term prices, right? Because if I'm going to go stay at your house and let's say regular rent is $5,000 a month, right? I don't want to pay you $5,000 if I'm only going to stay there for 3 or 4 nights, right? And guys, if you guys have questions, please put them in the Q&A, okay? And I'll get to them, I promise. So the idea here is that you're going to provide somebody with a furnished property that will help them do whatever it is they need to do for a short amount of time. And the price, right, for staying at that property will, the nightly rate is going to be much higher than it would for, if you get that monthly regular rent or that long-term lease gross amount of rent and divide that by 30 days. Okay. So let's share. Okay, share. Perfect. So why would you want to do that, right? So the best thing to do here, right? Like my goal for this webinar is for you guys to maximize your rental potential on any property, right? And I want you to do it through short-term rentals, right? When I first I'll get into the story now. And the second thing that I want you guys to do is to build an STR through learning from someone else's experience, like Antonio, right? Like me. Like you guys don't have to bump your head along the way like a pinball to be able to get to the point where you can have a property that's really producing maximum amount of revenue for you, right? And then there's other things included as well, such as location, right? Quality of the build, the experience is such a big deal. The experience that you're giving these folks, right, is also something that can make your property very unique. Whereas with the long-term rental, you're just providing a place for someone to stay, right? So before I keep going, I want you guys to know a little bit more about who I am. So I'm Antonio Lopez, right? I'm actually the son of 2 very resilient immigrant parents. They got to this country and they had me, and before they had me, they actually went through a lot of struggle. The first thing that happened was that unfortunately my dad didn't understand some paperwork, and he actually put the house up with the business, and the business failed. So they actually ended up coming up to the property, and the property had been taken by the bank, right? And I was in my mom's belly at that time. So they struggled. My dad actually got 2 jobs at the time. And unfortunately, my dad had a really severe work accident where he went blind. And ever since then, my family, my mom and dad have been struggling to give me the opportunities that they didn't have. And they've been teaching me things that they wish they would have known when they got to this country. So for me, that's part of the reason why I do this, right? Part of the reason that I learned to do short-term rentals is because I want to maximize what it is that I have been taught over the years. I'm not just going to sit around and do nothing with it. So with that being said, these are pictures of my first short-term rental. The blue color on the right was actually my mom's idea, and it hit. It was a great idea. I had no idea at the time, but it hit, right? People loved it. This is me talking to NFL players. That's actually for you guys that know Anish. That's him right here. And you can see the size of these guys. This is one of the linebackers from the Miami Dolphins. I mean, these guys are, they're like big teddy bears too. They're really amazing people. But and this is me being recognized by the National RIA. So, and we'll get into those stories. So I wasn't always like that. At the beginning, when I first started out, these are actually the pictures that I used to get my short-term rental up and running. So, when I first got into it, I did it because I didn't want to move my stuff, right? I had this tiny little condo, and I'm like, man, I don't want to move my stuff. Externally, I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to fuel that desire, right? Or excuse me, not fuel it. I wanted to pay for it. I wanted to pay for the desire to travel the world. But internally, I always have had this really strong feeling, this really strong urge to become a true professional, right? To master real estate in general. And so this is why this is so important, guys. This is going to be the key factor in all of this. So I set up my short-term rental. I got it up and running. Things were going pretty smooth, right? And then what happened was that I had some guests come in, and they broke things. They left marks on the walls. They essentially trashed my place. They took some of the personal items that I had left behind. And at that time, I had no idea what I needed to do. Right. I was struggling and I'm already, trying to make ends meet. And now I have to deal with paying for all this stuff. At that time, I didn't realize that there's insurance in place. Like you could go back to Airbnb. I was only on Airbnb, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And so I had to take the hit, right? There was a money cost to that, as well as the amount of time that it took me to repair the place in order to get it moving, right? So what happened to me was that I quickly realized, I was like, I can't treat this like, with that urge of wanting to be a professional, I can't treat this like some hobby. I have to treat this like a business. And so that's exactly what I started doing, and the plan was to get started, start learning everything that I could, and to really, again, start doing short-term rentals like a business, right? The only problem was that I really didn't know what I was doing. Right. So I had to read books. I had to do everything that I could to gather up the information that was necessary in order for me to learn all this stuff. Right. And here I am. It's 2023. I started in like 2016. So here we are 6-7 years later. And this is what's possible. Right. These are some of the things that I've been able to do. I took my mom to Alaska, not on this trip, but on the previous trip before COVID. I actually went to go see, I don't know if any of you know who Bad Bunny is. I went to go see this guy live in a different country, almost, like 3-4 rows away. I've traveled all over the world, right? All over the world. This is me on the current Alaskan cruise. I was able to talk to the National RIA, right? So these type of things are what helped me experience myself as a true professional, right? The ability to bring abundance to my life, and not only to my life, but to my family's life. And as a matter of fact, into many people's lives, right? Not just my family. And so that's one of the biggest things here, right? It took me, here it says 5 years, but it took me 6-7 years to figure out, through going through the hard way, bumping my head, having bad guests, double bookings, you name it, issues with licensing. And so here's the thing, you don't have to go through that, right? You can go the easy route. You can take the easy route and save literally thousands of dollars, not just on how much money you might have to pay out for all this stuff, right? But on the amount of time that you're going to save. If you can get started right away doing it just perfectly, trust me when I tell you, you're going to be one of the most competitive properties in your area. So if you've been struggling, right? If people are telling you it's not worth it, if people are, or if you're thinking you don't know the legal landscape, if you're thinking to yourself, I don't have a house, what do I tell homeowners, right? Don't know how to evaluate a property. How do you know how much it's going to make? How do you know what other competitors are making? What's making them so successful, right? Having a hard time knowing how to deal or screen potential guests, and like so many questions that you guys might have. If you guys been struggling to get into this, which I would imagine that's why you're on this webinar, these are probably some of the reasons why. Okay. Now the hard way was when I first started out, I had to do everything. I didn't know, right, what I was doing. So I had to essentially become almost obsessed with this, right? As you can see, this is actually a picture of me in like St. Bart's or something. I had the money, right? I went out but I was like stuck to my phone. So that's actually a friend of mine behind me making fun of me because I'm on my phone trying to solve an issue with the air conditioning, because the air conditioning went out. And I'm like, it was crazy, right? Like I'm literally in this beautiful place and I can't, I have to answer like all the messages. I had to manually set pricing. I had to constantly monitor events, right? Like things that are going on. I answer all maintenance requests. I didn't have anybody or a team to help me out. I had to pay for copy, meaning that I had to pay people to write the description and to write the captions for the photos, et cetera, just money out of pocket. Managing supplies. I was the guy that went over there. Even though I didn't clean, I still had to provide the supplies. I had to be on top of that, right? My cleaners weren't doing that. They just went, cleaned, and got out. And yeah, my opportunity costs were roughly like about 15 grand a year, because reflecting back now, I know that I could have made way more money on that property. I could have made those 15 grand over the 12 months. I could have made that money, right? And that's money that I didn't make, plus the money that it cost me to do all this stuff, right? So, correct. And months of time, right? Months and months of time that I spent figuring this stuff out and spending on the actual property every week, et cetera, right? So before we get into the secrets, I want to look at the Q&A. Do you have an Airbnb only on your owned properties? So I have done Airbnb or short-term. We like to, so in the industry, just so you guys know, we're moving away from saying Airbnb. We still do it, right? Like, because everybody knows Airbnb, but there's a lot of platforms out there that are not just, that are short-term rental platforms, such as VRBO, Expedia, Booking.com, TripAdvisor is in it, Google's in it. There's a bunch of stuff out there. At the workshop, I'm actually inviting somebody from Guesty for Pros. He's going to be on there. And Guesty for Pros is like amazing. I love it. I've been using it from the beginning, and you guys should too. But yeah, to answer your question, I don't do just short-term rentals on my own properties. Okay. I've done it with other people's properties. I've partnered with them. So I do take that on. It just depends on the property and what we really look at, what it can generate. Since you mentioned a condo STR, can you briefly talk about condo STR restrictions? And even homes are now coming under STR restrictions, correct? And what license, if any, is required? So we'll get into licensing in a little bit, okay? As far as HOA restrictions on your STR, if your HOA doesn't allow you to do short-term rentals, you're pretty much stuck. They have a lot of power, which I don't personally like. I don't like the fact that they can essentially do whatever they want, and at the same time looking at it from a homeowner who wants to live there and live peacefully, and even then it still doesn't make sense, right? Because if you're running your short-term rental like an actual professional, you'll avoid people having parties. Plus, nobody's going to have a party like in a 2-bedroom 2-bath house. Like, they just chances are, or an apartment or whatever, chances are they're not going to do that, right? The parties really go on at like the $1 million properties, right, where like they're trying to impress guests or whatever. So you could, one thing, Ron, that you could do is take over the HOA, right? I know that's a little bit of a crazy idea, right? And it's totally possible, right? If you own a majority stake in a particular building, you could just, get on the board and change the rules, right? And then when do we get a replay recording of this session? I believe it's in about 24 hours. Okay, so I'm going to move forward with the question. So the 3 secrets, right? The first one is the intricate dance of legality, right? You want to make sure that you stay legal, right? And not only that, that your neighbors have your back, right? You want to make sure that if you're doing a short-term rental, that your neighbors know. Go over there, take them an apple pie, right? And then we'll go into that right now. The secret number 2 is the power of profile optimization, right? Which is crucial because you want to land on the top of those search listings. And then the third thing is using dynamic pricing, and a minimum day stay strategy. Okay, so we're going to get into each one now. So the first one is, and this is the first secret, right? How do you get your licensing? You want to save time and your sanity, right? You don't want to be looking over your back. You don't want to be thinking, hey, when is the next time that when is the next time that the city's going to come knocking? You don't want to deal with that, right? So let me tell you guys a story. So I was running my first short-term rental, and things were going pretty good. Things were going really well. And at the end of the day, what had happened was that I get a letter from the Miami-Dade County, and it was basically like a cease and desist letter. Like, hey, you can't do it anymore. You got 30 days to turn in your paperwork, right? And so I didn't know, I was sweating. This is where I'm making some money, right? And at the end of the day, what happened was that, I didn't know there was a legal loophole, right? So if you are doing 30 days or more, right, you don't have to get the local license, which the local licensing authorities are the ones who actually, what's the word here? The folks who actually, like the police, right? They're the ones who enforce the actual licensing, right? So if they come after you, right, then you have to shut down your thing until you get the proper licensing. Luckily, right, I was in the right, I just didn't know it, right? So my aha moment was, hey, not just with licensing, but also getting the right insurance, making this a scalable project, right? Risk averse. And you know what? It was actually easy. Once I put that fear aside, I realized that it was simple, right? It's not rocket science, but you had to figure it out, right? So look, the first step when you're looking up licensing in your county or in your city, that's pretty much what you want to do at first, right? You want to put Google STR in your county, right? You want to call and ask questions. Usually people here are really, really nice, especially recently where the cities are actually, a lot of the tax revenue that the city is generating actually comes from short-term rentals. And I've heard in different parts of the country, the short-term rental taxes, is actually outpacing the local hotel lobbies, right? Just so you guys know. So a lot of folks always ask me, hey, is this thing going to stay around? Is it going to stick around? If you look statistically speaking in the past, even throughout the pandemic, right, where everybody was shut down, short-term rentals did really good. They were still very, very resilient, right? And then afterwards, and even now, right, that it depends on what market, but the short-term rentals are still doing really, really well, right? And they've been very resilient. And that's really, really, it's good news because there's still opportunity there. The point is you have to go in as a professional. So, right, step 3, fill out the paperwork and apply and get your license. This is the actual license. This is my actual license for my short-term rental. Obviously, I've renewed it already. But yeah, this is what it looks like. And number 5, of course, meet your neighbors, right? Go over there, talk to them. I've talked to a couple of my neighbors, and at the end of the day, only one neighbor was home, right? The other neighbor doesn't want to answer, I think because I want to buy his house. So I don't know. But anyways, you want to talk to your neighbor. The front door neighbor is going to be really key because they're the ones who can look directly at your house, right? The other neighbors are also important just so they, obviously, so they know what's going on. And so they don't misunderstand anything if there's anything going on. And with that being said, you want your neighbors to call you first. You don't want your neighbors to have to call the police, right? And this is something that I learned at the IMN conference. Remember, I've been spending like tens of thousands of dollars figuring this stuff out over the years, right? I go to this really, really great, if you guys want to look it up, the IMN conference on short-term rentals, amazing. Cost me like, I think it was like $2,000 to attend, worth every penny, right? So this is what's going on, right? Like my total investment in all of this was a lot of stress, right? It was a lot of money. It was a lot of lost revenue, right? More importantly, it's something that you don't have to go through, right? So who does this work for? It works for people starting out. It works if you don't have any properties, you can take this on. People who have already owned properties, right? If you already own a property and you're thinking about getting in, this is for you. This is people who don't want to own properties, right? I've talked to a lot of people who are just like, look, I don't want to take on the, what is it called? The responsibility of having to own a property and wonder about insurance and what happens if there's a hurricane and the roof and the plumbing and the electrical. Totally understandable. You don't have to worry about that. You can't take this on without doing that. People that have their own home, right? You could start house hacking if something's going on and either you want to make extra cash and you're comfortable meeting new people. This is definitely something that you can do. But you want to make sure that you do it the right way, right? You want to make sure that you understand what it is that you're going to be presenting and the experience you're going to be giving these folks that are coming into your property, right? Even if you own or rent a boat, right? You can actually do this on that boat, right? Trailer, same thing, a tent. So we're gonna go into this in a moment, the type of different properties, right? So this is actually one of the cool ones that I saw. It's a house, right? And it comes with its own Tesla. Right. So I didn't read in the profile if they go pick them up. But let's say once you get to the house, you have access to a Tesla. Right. So you don't have to rent a car. So that might be a big deal. Right. Depending on the avatar that you're renting to. And for you guys that don't know, an avatar is basically like your ideal client. Right. So, for example, if you're selling Peloton bicycles, right, who you are looking for are for people who might be slightly overweight that want to get into shape, right? That have a certain amount of income of disposable income that can purchase your property or your bike, right? So it's the same thing with short-term rentals, right? And there we get into more into the workshop stuff, right? Where I talk about, how to collect the information from your guests in order to start getting more granular and statistical, really, with your guests and finding out who your avatar really is, because you don't know who's going to your house, right? This is kind of a weird one, but I put it in here because it's just so weird that it's like, if people stay in here, and this guy's making money. This is a crypt hotel room built in an actual crypt. So how creepy is that? Hey, you know what? The more power to you. I don't care who goes to my property. This is a business, right? So I don't care who goes there, whatever. As long as, with this one, you're getting a certain type of experience, right? Same thing with this. You're getting a certain type of experience. I mean, how much could this thing cost? And I'll bet this property is generating minimum 50 grand a year. I'll bet. And it's a dome. I mean, how much does this cost to make, right? This is actually the smallest house in the world, right? And that's the title. That's the catchy title, right? Of the Airbnb listing. And it looks like you could take it anywhere, right? And here, this guy built a plane. He put a plane on top of the house. Again, people want to have a really great experience. It's not, and you could come up with, lots and lots of different ideas to set up your place to give a very special experience to the guest staying at your property, right? What I've come to learn is that since I rehabbed my house in 2019, I've actually come to learn that if you start doing different tweaks and whatnot, you're going to see that more and more people start looking at your property. When you look at your statistics on Airbnb and other what is it called, and other software that you can use on the cloud, right? So, I mean, this is some awesome stuff, right? This stuff is great. I don't think my mom is the only one that's excited. And actually, that's actually me with long hair. And that's how you do it, guys. You go on Google, you look it up. It's really simple, right? But then again, you want to make sure that you fill out the paperwork right and whatnot. That's the first thing. I want you guys to understand that this is not rocket science. And there's a learning curve which you guys can shorten up. You don't have to go through all the pain and all the sleepless nights because you're waiting for this person to check in like at 11:30 at night and you've had a whole day of work. This is the type of stuff you guys want to avoid. So yeah, let's do a little bit of engagement. Who here thinks this is awesome so far? IMN conference. I'm looking, please, Q&A. Awesome. Okay, guys, remember, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A, okay? I want this to be super engaging, okay? So with that being, thank you, Patricia. I see you. Thank you. So where do I find a good short-term rental to model, right? Because you're not recreating the wheel, right? What you want to do is you want to look at what's out there already, kind of what we looked at, with the dome, and those are like really special properties. And if you have enough space on your property to do something like super cool like that, where it's an experience, those are the highest grossing properties, period. And if you have a super cool experience that people can have, go for it, because that's where the money's at. Now, what I did with my property, and throughout my career is that I looked at the things that I looked at my competitors, and I looked at, okay, what's making, like, why are these competitors making what it is that they're making, right? So this is actually a picture of my property. So first thing you want to do is search Airbnb, right? Or any STR platform for that matter. Look at where you're going to buy your house, or where it is that you're thinking of renting the house, or where it is that you're thinking of, putting up your trailer, your dome, whatever it is that you're going to do. Look around that area and then start looking for essentially properties that you can compare yours to or your plan to. You're going to look at their listing, and then you're going to look at their calendar. Okay. Their calendar is going to tell you if they're full or not. Most of the time, what you're going to see, for example, if you guys are looking at your screen, you're going to see that this is actually my calendar at the beginning of this year. And I'll show you later on. I got it full. What you want to do is, what you're going to see is, in most competitors, is going to be that like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then you're going to see again, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You're going to see, and then there's like all these days in the middle. That doesn't mean that's a bad thing, right? Those days in the middle are called orphan days, right? And those are basically days that your property is just sitting there not making any money. Now, we'll get into that, but the whole point is this: what you do by looking at their listing is to see if they have, like listings into the future. If there's properties around that area that have listings going into the future, that means that there's demand in that area, right? Now, what you want to do, if you're really, really committed and you really want to find out what it is that makes this place special, just go and stay there for a night, right? Some places might have a 2-night minimum, 3-night minimum. If you can do it, go there, stay there, and learn from the experience of you staying there. It might cost you, it might cost you $400 or $500, right? But at the end of the day, you're gonna understand the experience of what it's like to get to this property. You're gonna notice all these details, right? You also want to read the reviews. It's something that I don't have in the slides, so it's like a freebie. You want to look at the reviews. You want to look at what people are complaining about to see if you can make sure that you have that in your property. One thing that I'm always learning from everybody. Okay, I don't know everything. What I have done is essentially, become obsessed with this, right? So I learned from several different people, right? And I go to conferences, and I'm part of online groups, and I'm part of these masterminds, and I teach people. So what I learned recently that I'm going to do at my property, I'm going to add a baby chair. I already have the crib, but I don't have the baby chair. And I found out that maybe with that baby chair, I can increase my revenue by 10%. And so on a property where, I'm making already like $70K a year, 10% is another $7K, right? That's $7,000 I could do whatever with. I could travel to Europe. My thing is traveling, by the way, guys. If you guys have different goals, right? You guys might want to put away money in your Roth IRA. Maybe you want to put more money. Maybe you want to get a car. You got to pay for like student loans, whatever it is that you need to do. What you want to do, it's a numbers game, and you want to be tweaking your property to make sure that that you're maximizing your revenue, because it is a business, guys. It's a business. One thing that makes it a little bit more simple, or I don't want to say more simple, one thing that helps you in doing this research is going to AirDNA and looking at the rentalizer, right? It's a simple way to find out how much revenue the property might generate. With that being said, what you do is you put your address in there, and it'll tell you, hey, this property can generate X amount of dollars per year at X amount of occupancy, meaning that you might be at 65% occupancy, and the property is estimated to generate, you know, $50,000, $55,000 a year. Okay. With that being said, you don't want to just take this information and say, hey, I'm going to make X amount of dollars. You do have to do your research, right? This is just a really quick and easy tool for you to get some kind of idea of where that range is, what range you should expect as far as revenue. And remember that the range depends on experience. It depends on the pictures. It depends on, you know, how good of a check-in process. There's like all this stuff that has to do it. That's what that's part of what we're going to be covering in the workshop, right? And is that was secret? Let me see. Sorry, guys. Secret number 1. Well, let's go into secret number 2. Okay. So the power of profile optimization. I think essentially, I think I was just talking about that, right? So how to become unmissable and land in top search results through consistent profile optimization. Remember, you have to be tweaking it. It's cool because you have to be tweaking your profile. You have to be looking at what's missing, what's not missing. And the way that you find some of that out is by looking at your competition, right? Another way of doing this, of doing profile optimization, is by following some really basic rules, right? And you don't have to be a tech, right? Like, I don't know if anybody knows, and if you guys could write in the chat, you know, who knows what search engine optimization is? If you guys can tell me real quick so we could keep it moving. Search engine optimization. And guys, please, you know, feel free to be engaged, because I love that. I love it when people are letting me know that you guys are engaged with what I'm talking about, because I want to bring you guys value. And if you know, so ask me questions, be fully engaged in this conversation with me. Okay. SEO is search engine optimization. You don't have to be a SEO wizard, right? It's being visible when someone runs a search in any search engine. Correct. So when you go to Google, thank you. When you go to Google, like Patricia said, the people that, you know, like that first page that you see after the ads, those people have optimized their profile in order for Google to find them. So it's search engine optimization. So it's the same thing with Airbnb and the different websites. You have to do tweaks, and you have to start recognizing if the tweaks are either getting you more views or if they're bringing you less views. And that part does take a little bit of time unless you have the right software. So for, you know, the story behind this is that, you know, it got to a point where Airbnb in specific, they changed their algorithm. My property was doing like amazing. Like I was doing really, really well. And I remember one month we grossed like $12,000, like in one of the Marches. And excuse me. And then Airbnb came and they changed the algorithm, and they wanted to bring up the most interesting properties up to the top. So what did I do? I went on like turbo mode, right? Again, obsession, right? I went into turbo mode and I started reading like all these books. That's when I started going to the IMN conferences, at least for short-term rentals. That's when I became part of the mastermind groups. That's when I actually, like you guys, I went ahead and I went out and I joined different programs to find out, hey, what am I missing here, right? Like, how do I do this, right? Because I'm already a I'm already a well-established short-term rental host. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm number 2 grossed in my area for revenue. The only other guy the only other property that's beating me is because they have a pool. That's it. With that being said, you know, the problem was, it's like, how do you do this? You know, I have this property, my revenue decreased, my occupancy was decreasing. We're going into low season, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, what am I going to do? So at the end of the day, what I did, I just started reading and reading. And the more that I figured out, the more that I found out and talked to different hosts and got information from their experience, right? I started realizing that it's pretty basic stuff, right? Great description, guys. I don't know how many of you know about ChatGPT. Use ChatGPT, okay, to help you write the copy. You don't need to You don't need to necessarily use exactly what comes out, but you want to work with that. You want to have great pictures. I know some people that, you know, they have like these amazing properties and they just have like these ugly, dark pictures that are not optimized for the viewing public. So that's really important. You want to highlight your amenities. Okay. Amenities, jacuzzi, hot tub, pool, barbecue, you know, whatever. And we'll go into this in the workshop. There's specific amenities, right, that you can highlight that will help you make sure that you get people in through the door, because sometimes you just won't know. You won't know what this person, and if they see an amenity that you have and you just happen to have it, right? Again, that's more people at your place. That's a higher demand, right? That's more money. Now, algorithm KPIs. Algorithm KPIs are, so KPIs are key performance indicators, okay? Key performance indicators are, there's two kinds, right? There's the ones that the short-term rental companies give you, and then there's like the inner key performance indicators, right? And you want to pay attention to those, right? You want to pay attention to those because those are going to be the ones that help you tweak, right, your profile and help you make sure that you're trying to get as high a price at as a highest that's the highest price while still getting highest occupancy possible. And occupancy isn't everything. We're going to talk about that in the workshop. So what I had to do, right, I had to pay people to write my copy. I had to, you know, I would take photos with my phone. I don't know if you guys remember the first pictures that I showed you guys. I had to take them with my phone. You know, I had terrible descriptions. Actually, that's actually before I paid people for copy, right? It should be first terrible descriptions and then paid people to write copy. But I had terrible descriptions, you know, and at the end of the day, I lost an opportunity, right? Even though the majority of the time I was pretty much fully booked, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a good thing, right? Because I might have been able to make 5, 10, 15, 20% more than I was making, and I just wasn't aware of that, right? So that was the old way. And before we get into the old way, let me see, do we have any questions? Do you recommend having a minimum amount of days to rent, and why? Okay, Sharon, that's a really great question. We'll get to that at the end. Can you lease a property and then do STR? Quick answer is yes. What is a KPI? I answered that, but I'll leave these questions now and I'll answer them. Okay. So if you guys have more questions, keep asking. So that was the old way, guys. Remember the old way. Let me get back to my slide here. The old way was doing the hard stuff. You know, remember, I was answering messages, inquiries, answering all these complaints, not complaints, but, you know, any little issue that the person had. Well, hey, where can we have dinner? It's like, dude, I'm at dinner. You know, like, I don't want to be bothered. And it comes with the game, right? So that's the hard way, you know, not using dynamic pricing, relying on Airbnb to determine my pricing. Terrible idea, by the way. So there's all these difficulties that you get, and you basically create a new job for yourself if you don't do this right. Right. And so there's a new way. There's a better way. Right. The better way is to get yourself someone who knows what they're doing, someone who's experienced with several properties, right, that teaches this stuff to NFL players. Right. So who here thinks having a coach is an awesome idea? Right. This information that I'm giving you guys is critical information. And again, in the workshop, we're going to go deeper into this stuff to make sure that you guys get the most amount of value for this, right? So, and that's the power, and that's the power of profile optimization. So the third thing we're going to talk about, how are we doing on time? Yeah, we're doing good. So the third thing we're going to talk about here is the magic of pricing, of dynamic pricing and minimum day stay strategies. So let's get right into it. So you see, guys, you see how in the middle here, I'm going to use my cursor. You see, if you guys see here in the middle, right, there's like all these orphan days, right? That's not, you know, that's just money that's not being made, right? You don't want to do that, right? Like, again, it's a business. You want to try to fill in those gaps. So the idea is that what you're going to do is you're going to set your day, so actually, and this kind of answers your question. When someone had a question about the minimum, Sharon. So Sharon, you had a question about the minimum amount of days to rent and why. So it's dynamic. Okay, what does that mean? It means that the closer that so let's say today is September 20th, right? So let's say September 21st and 22nd, I'll have like maybe a 1-night minimum stay. Then after that, for like the next 3-4 days, it'll be 2-day minimum, or it'll be like a 3-day minimum stay. Then maybe, like 2-3 weeks out, it'll be a 4-night minimum stay. And then maybe 2-3 weeks after that, it'll be a 7-night minimum stay, right? So the idea behind that is that you get the bigger reservations in first. So then when they start coming at you, you can fill in what should be small gaps. You can start filling those up with 1 or 2-night stays. And another question that I'm sure you might have, Sharon, is, I'm afraid of like 1-night minimum stays because I don't want so much turnover on your property. It's a business. Okay, guys, every day that property is sitting there, that's $200-300 that you're not making. And remember, we're all trying to make $100,000 off of this property, right? We're all trying to generate $100,000 off of this property, right? How do we do that? It's $274 a day. So every day that property's sitting there, that's less of a chance of me making it to 100, right? Not only that, but remember, we can tweak pricing and whatnot, right? By the experience. This is actually my calendar. I used to have a ton of orphan days, not anymore. What I did was I started messing around with it. I messed around with the settings of the minimum day stays. I started doing different promotions, and lo and behold, my calendar was filling up. So what you want to do is you want to, of course, analyze your competitors. Okay. So you want to look at what price they're charging, right? You want to look at the demand. Remember, we were talking about like analyzing the market. It's essentially the same thing, right? You want to see what your how it's going for your competitors, right? And find out what they're charging for their property. And it's really easy. You just go on the website, you click on their link, you just click all the way to the point where you're about to rent, and it'll give you a breakdown of the per night pricing. Okay. That's one way to do it. So, and this is what I was talking about, setting the minimum stays, right? So this is what you want your calendar to look like. You don't want it to look like this, right? Well, you want it to look like that, but you don't want it to look like this, right? You want it to look like this, right? Where you have the bigger ones. And then let's say, like, for example, here on the 14th, where you're seeing, that's like going to be a 1-night stay. That's an extra, for this person, it's an extra $110 that they're going to make. That's whatever it is that you want. Maybe you drive a big truck and that's just a full tank of gas, whatever it is. Remember, it's a business, guys. You want to maximize how much money you're making. Changing prices. So this is really important. You want to use dynamic pricing. Okay. What does dynamic pricing mean? Dynamic pricing means that the price changes with demand. And there's other factors that you can make happen. There's other factors that impact pricing, such as occupancy, right? Or how close the day is to you. So as like what I have, in order to increase my occupancy, as somebody comes closer, as a date gets closer, I actually drop the pricing, right? To make it more attractive, to fill up that house. It's kind of like a hotel, right? They'll drop their prices in order to get somebody to get in heads and beds. Now, you also want to try to customize that, right? As soon as I started doing that, my occupancy went up, right? My occupancy shot through the roof. And in general, on average, I was making more money, right? With a lot less work, by the way. Used to be hard, right? It used to be hard to keep my Airbnb full, not so much anymore, right? Especially my studio. My studio is nearly at 100% all the time. And these guys are paying top dollar for that studio, right? So those are pretty much the three secrets that I use, right, in order to optimize and to make sure that I maximize my my STR. Okay, and if you follow what it is that I'm teaching you guys, you will succeed. Like, you will succeed if you guys do exactly what I'm telling you and use the software that you need to use. You will succeed, right? Now, let me ask you guys a question. Well, actually, let me tell you what you're going to get. What you're going to get is at the workshop, you're going to get 6 hours of actionable steps, right? This is stuff that you can take out and immediately put into action as soon as you get out of that workshop, right? A lot of people at the meetings. So let me tell you why the workshop exists. The workshop exists because I would come to the meetings and a lot of folks would hear that I was doing a short-term rental. And so as you guys know, because you guys are on here, it's really popular. and it's cool because you can express yourself through your STR, which adds to the experience, which I keep coming back to. The experience is very important. Now, there's a ton of people at the meetings, at the BPM RIA meetings, and at other meetings too, right? But specifically, I'm going to talk about the BPM RIA meeting. And like time after time, people would come up to me and ask me questions. And how are you doing this? And how do you deal with guests? And how do you know pricing? And how do you know where to buy? And et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't have a property, et cetera. And at the end of the day, Anish just told me, he tells me, Anish is the owner of BPM RIA. Anish tells me, Antonio, it would be a good idea if you were to do a workshop that would encompass what it is that you do that makes you successful. And that's what I decided to put together. Okay. I'm put together this workshop that I don't hold back. I like talking about what it is that I do because I want to hear that, excuse me, that other people are successful and they got their start by coming to my workshop, right? And at the end of the day, I provide coaching and I can give you even more direct answers with like true one-on-one coaching, right? So how to start like a pro, right? This is what the seminar is what the workshop is going to be about. How to find the property, right? Trends in the market, the most attractive features, right? Like what makes it stand out. I'll tell you. What different marketing platforms you want to be on, getting your license, insurance, automation. What are the key performance indicators you want to look at? Maximizing profits and a lot more, right? There's going to be the workshop is going to overflow, right, with actionable steps, things that you could take out and start doing right away on your property or
Hey
on
guys,
otherwise.
my name is Jaylene, and I just wanted to give a quick shout out and testimony.
And just real quick, this is Jaylene. She got her start with me. She is now operating a short-term rental up in Orlando, right next to Disney. And that property that they chose was very particular because it's I remember it's close to a golf course. And it's walled. All the properties outside of that. The reason we chose that one is because the properties outside of that were not generating as high revenue. And so I'll let her speak in her own words.
To Antonio. I just did a coaching call with him. It was like an hour and a half. And honestly, what I got out of that little piece of time was more than I've gotten out of the infinite courses I've taken that I've had to go through weeks and just a day and night going through them. They've all been good, but none of them have had the information that he gave super quickly. He went straight to the point, gave a lot of different resources that nobody else talks about, just because there's so many things that you could do to make your experience on Airbnb more successful and more reproductive. So if you're thinking about going into the Airbnb business and have no experience, or you want to get a little bit more out of the experience that you already have because you think you can make more money, have a higher occupancy rate, have a better customer service, then I definitely recommend that you have a call with Antonio.
Yeah, so that's Jaylene. She's awesome. Okay, this is actually Jose. He also was working with me to find
I
a
just want to
property.
come on here and talk about my experience with Antonio. I recently got one of his courses on the Airbnb.
You can see he's kind of shy.
And I've taken previous courses before that gave me a lot of good information. But what I received from Antonio was game changer. I mean, some of these things I didn't even know existed. He kind of takes the guesswork out of a lot of things. Explains it very thorough. Amazing content. And I loved it, worth every single penny. I definitely recommend this guy.
Yeah. So Jose's a little bit shy, as you can see from the video. It took forever to get the video from it, but he did it. And in his own words, right? So, you know, who this works for, again, guys, people that are starting out, people without properties, people without time, people with properties with long-term rentals. It works for all kinds of people, right? Like this is not an exclusive business. This is a business you can get into and really with no money, right? You can do it. And we can talk about that during the workshop. The workshop, what I love about the workshop, it's going to be very interactive because there's so much to talk about that I want to make sure that people at the workshop get the value that they're coming in for. And so like, I'll tell you guys, I have like 100 and like, not even, I think it's more than that. Let's just say that the outline of information should be a book because it's only an outline and it's 24 pages long, right? So imagine if I were to really fill it out, it would be an entire book, which I actually should do that. So if you don't have to, you know, if you don't have a property yet, you don't have to worry, right? We're going to find the right house and we're going to analyze the properties. You know, we're going to look at the whole area and we're going to really look at what's going on. What you're going to learn, right? First part is the legal aspect of the business, right? We're going to learn I'm going to teach you how to get in there and how to get started legally. Whatever market you're in, you want to start legally. Okay. And we're going to talk about why. Just that is a $6,000 value, guys. Not just in the fact that you're going to learn exactly what it is that you need to do, but in loss, you're not going to lose any revenue, right? Like you don't want to spend 2-3 months because that's sometimes what it takes. It takes 2-3 months to get your license sometimes, right? If you don't turn everything in right, you don't do it right. And that's 2-3 months of money. Let's say your property is only going to generate $2,000 a month, which it should be more than that. But let's say that's $6,000, right? The automation aspect of this whole business, which I'm actually going to have somebody from Guesty, one of the top people at Guesty, be at the workshop, and he's going to explain the whole automation part about Guesty and how you can set this thing up to basically do pretty much everything for you. You know, I wish I would have known about Guesty back then, because I was only on Airbnb. I was relying on Airbnb. So I didn't have any automation set up. Now everything is automated, right? Now I don't even go to the property, guys. You know, and I did this for my own business. This is stuff that I've done already for my own business, aside from, and some of the smart home stuff that's really cool that I've done, you know, and you'll be able to get rid of wasting time on repair, or you don't have, look, if you haven't even gotten started, you don't have to wait around to figure this stuff out. You don't have to, you know, hey, yeah, I'll manage it, right? Yeah, you can manage it. But then when you're on vacation or you're at dinner or you're doing something really important, like you're what actually brings you money, and you have to stop and you have to deal with somebody who you already told them, you know, how to check in, or you already told them where, like, you know, the spoons are or whatever, right? You don't want to have to be doing that, right? So we're going to get rid of that. We're going to get rid of slow response times, right? You want to be able to answer these people right away within like 5 minutes, right? Remember the experience of these guests. It's what's most important. I've had guests where, you know, they for a moment, they were like, oh, but you know, this and that. And because I answered so quickly and I was able to resolve their issues so quickly, they were happy. They left me a 5-star review. They're like, and if you guys actually look at my profile, you'll see that it's constant. Hey, great service. This guy was super, you know, and it's not me that's really answering though, guys. Okay. I'm the host, but it's not me answering, right? Having to scour different sites for your property analytics. You don't have to deal with that. Producing income reports manually, right? Like if you guys decide to do this through arbitrage, you're going to have to be producing income reports, right? You might have to do that manually if you don't have the right software. Inefficiencies in your process, right? And that means team communication, right? Team communication between the different people on your team, between your cleaners, between your management team, between, you know, whoever else is on your team. You want to have these processes and everything to go smoothly. You're going to get rid of a lot of human errors when you do automation. And there's less probability of you losing on money, right? There's less chance of profit. There's less chance of a loss of profitability. And so that also helps out in alleviating a lot of the negative guest experiences, because those are the ones that get you, right? When a guest comes and they have a really bad experience and they leave you a 1-star review, it's not nice. It sucks, because we really bust our buns to be able to produce something for somebody. And just because they had it, and even if it was their mistake, it doesn't matter, right? Like you want to have this process perfected. So like that, you know, we reduce as much human error, as much, you know, redundancy as we can, and so much more, right? Like that's what we're going to be getting at during the workshop. So time is your most valuable asset, guys. You know, what you want to do is you want to be free. You want this thing on autoplay. Actually, I was going to say auto pay, but not to them. You want to have this house to auto pay you, right? You want to sit back, kind of relax a little bit and know that things are taken care of, but you have to set it up first, and you have to set it up effectively for this to happen. So you will earn higher profits and save months of time and frustration. You don't have to do it like me. You don't have to, you know, be hurting. And, you know, sometimes I'll be out with, I would be out with friends, and maybe I had a couple of drinks, and then all of a sudden I get this message from this guest. Like, who wants to answer messages while you're on a few drinks, right? Who wants to answer messages when you're out with your wife or with your kids or whatever it is that you're doing, guys? You don't want to go through this frustration. So you're going to get the legal automation strategy, automation strategy. I mean, as I'm saying it, I feel like the automation strategies are worth more than that, to be honest with you. Automation tools. We're going to be talking about automation. So you want to automate. It took me years to figure this out. You know, we're going to learn about everything when it comes to automation, maximizing profits, how to furnish without breaking the bank, the optimization, the software, hardware. Hardware is really important, actually, and so much more, guys. We're going to learn about different, and I want to go back to hardware real quick. Different hardwares. A lot of people tell me, oh, no, but I don't want people partying in my house. Understandable, 100%. Nobody wants to party at your house, right? And there's ways of making sure that you, number one, avoid that, right? And number two, that even if it does happen, you know what to do and you know how to detect it, and that you have the proof. So like that, when you go back to whatever STR, excuse me, STR platform that has insurance, or if you have your own insurance, which is something else that we're going to be talking about, the different types of insurances, you have what you need in order to essentially get your money back, right? And again, and a lot more, right? So again, this is easy, guys. It's not rocket science. You got to know how to do it, though. You need it's like the IKEA instructions, right? If somebody gives you a box, right, you might eventually figure it out, right? But who wants to sit there and figure out how to put together a piece of furniture, right? It's the same thing with this business. You don't want to sit there with a stick and does this go here and does that go? No, like here are the instructions, right? Like this is how you do this. This is the best way to do it. It's a step-by-step process, right? It's one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. At the workshop, we're going to be talking about several of these steps, right? We're going to be going in succession about what it is that you need to do in order to get started. Many steps can be accomplished simultaneously, right? It's just a matter of taking action now, guys. It's just a matter of if you know you want to do this, it's a matter of getting in there. And again, you know, and I'll bring you guys back to, you know, the thing with my dad. My dad is blind. My dad is blind. You know, if I could give everything up in the world to bring my dad's eyesight back, I would. You know, I would totally do it, and I can't, right? And for me, it's just a matter of taking action, right? It's a matter of me doing what I have to do now as essentially the man of the family, right? And that's what I'm telling you. You know, tomorrow's not promised, guys. If you know you're going to do this, do it. And we'll get into it now. So you have someone that has had years of experience doing this, and you're just going to get so much more, you know. So optimization knowledge, right? Like knowing what it is to tweak, what it is to you know, how to get it tweaked, right? Knowing where to insert, how to get everything done. I mean, that alone is worth, it's again probably worth more than $4,000, because when you do that, could be the difference between a 10, 15, 20% difference in your yearly revenue, right? So you will need more traffic. So you'll need more traffic. We're going to be talking about conversion rates, how to get more people to look at your booking sites. And when I say booking sites, I actually mean your direct booking site. We're going to be talking about how to set up a direct booking site with where you can actually get the people that are staying at your property already, and instead of them having to go back to like Airbnb where there's like a ton of competition, right? If these guys, excuse me, if these guests want to stay at your property again, you just give them the link and give them a direct you just give them like a little a custom code where you can give them like 10% off. Here's the cool part, right? When you go through an OTA, meaning a note, so guys, the OTA, I'm going to be using a lot of acronyms too, and I'll be talking about them. We'll go deeper on it at the workshop. An OTA is an online travel agency, right? The online travel agency is like Airbnb, VRBO, you know, all these different platforms that are online, right? So they charge, and then you guys have probably stayed at Airbnbs if you're on this webinar. They charge 15% to the guest. That's a ton of money. And then they turn around and they charge me 3%, right? So they're making 18% on every booking. That's a lot of money. So if you have a booking that's like, you know, $2,000, you know, that's $300 additional you're going to have to pay. And then from me, they're taking out another 3% from that you know, that $2,000 that they're charging you. And don't forget, you also have to pay taxes. Right? So your booking at 2,000 might just come out to be like like $2,600, right? So what you can do by bringing people in, right, directly to you, you can save them a ton of money, right? You still got to pay taxes though. And you still can save them on that 15%. We'll talk about that, right? Now, the hard way, guys, again, loss of sanity, right? Loss of revenue. I've lost more than $10,000 worth of revenue over the years. I wish I knew some of this stuff and some of the headache that comes with it, right? I paid for staging at one point. It was $2,500. Expert consulting, you know, going through all these different folks and taking all these classes and going through all these seminars and the conferences. It costs money, right? Website builder, you know, having to go out and build a website, it's $2,500, you know, like a really good website, right? You have to deal with that, paying at least $1,000 in copy, right? Having people having people write my descriptions and all of that, right? You guys don't have to do that. You know, like in the picture, perfect. I just looked at the picture of the dude. He's like, it's exactly the same thing. It gets to a certain point where you're just like, like you're still making money, yeah, but you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy that's like, how do I make this better? You don't, you know, I'll do it for you, right? My company will do it for you. So you can stop worrying why it's so much easier to work with me, right? It's easier because you can stop worrying if your property will rent. You'll know what STR websites want. Many steps can be accomplished again simultaneously. All you have to do is take action now, guys. You have someone that has years of experience and more. So, guys, now is the time. What you're going to get is, you know, 6,000, 4,000, 4,000, and a coach. You know, to get a one-on-one coach, guys, it's pretty expensive. I don't know how many of you out here have gone and tried to get a coach for real estate for short-term rentals. It can get really expensive. I've heard some guys charge upwards of 50 grand to do this. I put 20 grand just because it's just a lesser number, but numbers are as high as 50,000, right? At this workshop, you're essentially getting $34,000 of value. The last thing you guys need is a coach, right? And that's me. That's a really pretty picture of me. And actually I'm in front of my STR. You know, this is what my life is about. Like I told you guys at the beginning, it's empowering people to get started, to take action, right? If you take the people, you know, there's people that are on the court, and then there's the people who watch the basketball players, right? In this type of business, you have to be on the court. You have to be one of the basketball players. If not, you never will jump in. And if you're thinking about it right now, as I'm talking about this, do it. Take the leap. And I'm going to put the QR code up in a second now. This is actually me in my first short-term rental before. As you can see, there's no blue walls. There's nothing in there. I was just standing there, very young man, very handsome, if I might say. But no, that was me, you know. And now it's, you know, this is what I've been able to do, right? I've been able to become a professional. I teach people. I've taught at the NFL Combine, Business Combine. And again, why it's so fast? You will shed years of time, guys. you know, you'll hit the ground running. Don't sit through an audiobook and regular books, right? Like that in itself takes a ton of time and it keeps you from getting started. You know, we can get started right away. You know, I have other clients that they were hesitant and they were able to jump in with confidence because of, you know, because of my coaching. I was able to let them know, hey, look, this is what you need to do in order to find out if this property is going to make money or not. These are the way you got to run your numbers in order to make sure that it's, you know, that you don't run into any issues in case like occupancy drops for whatever reason, right? You need to be able to revert back, right? There's all this stuff that we talk about during the workshop and really in depth, you know, and in the coaching, if you guys decide to do that. It's a tried and tested method. Remember at the beginning of the webinar, I was telling you guys, and I'm just looking at the time, guys. So remember at the beginning of the webinar, I was telling you guys that it's tried and tested. I tried and tested it with friends and family, and it went incredible. The folks are, you know, they're blown away by the amount of income that they're able to generate without having to do very much, right? And that's, again, that's the key. If you're thinking, oh, this is going to take too much time, it's not. That's just a myth. The reality is, once you set it up or you have somebody else set it up for you, you essentially don't have to do almost anything, right? I personally like to be very involved in terms of just looking at the messages come in, but I don't answer anything, right? So again, tried and tested. You have someone with years of experience and more. So, you know, if all this did was, guys, if you got to hit the ground running in 30 to 60 days, making top dollar monthly, what kind of a difference would it make to make an additional $7,000-8,000 on your property? Let's say, let's not even use 7 or 8. Let's use 4, right? Let's say your property can generate an additional $4,000 a month. What would that do for you and your family? What would it be worth? You know, if all you knew, or if you knew the hardware and the software necessary for the short-term rental, maybe that you already own, that will, you know, it'll save you, you know, 20 hours a month, let's say it saves you 4 hours a week. What is that worth to you? Right? For most people, 20 hours a month, that's 4 hours a day for 5 days, right? That's a ton of time. That's time or let's say it saves you 2 hours per day or whatever, right? How much is that worth for you? And to get started legally, right? To know exactly what it is that you need to do in order to get started legally and not have to worry about looking over your shoulder that if anything happens, hey, look, this is my paperwork, right? What is that worth to you guys? So you have 2 options, guys. You could go as cheap as possible and spend years trying to figure this out like me, right? And I'm not saying I'm cheap. I'm just saying that it would take you a lot of time to figure this out, right? It took me a lot of time and I'm obsessed with this. Or you have the second option, which is it requires just a little bit of an investment in yourself, right? To be able to find out what you need to do, right? But, you know, require a little higher investment, but in exchange have the highest probability of maximizing revenue, right? That's the second option. So like if you put in, you know, $500 now, for example, and be able to, you know, generate an additional 5,000 at the end of the year, wouldn't that make it worth it? Like, yeah, I would do that all day. So again, what's one successful STR worth to you, right? 2,000, 3,000 a month more. How much would you like, you know, how much would you pay to get one perfect short-term rental property on auto pay? I'm going to start using that from now on auto pay, right? What is that worth to you, right? So it cost me at least 16 grand. That's why you see that face, you know, even though the horse should have that face, I'm the one that had it because I had to pay it out, right? So, you know, this is why people, you know, because of all this information and all this like obsession with short-term rentals, this is why people are willing to pay me 50% of their revenue. Because I've had folks approach me and they're willing to pay 50% of the revenue because they just want to get this thing up and running as fast as possible, because they understand that the sooner they have it up and running, the sooner we're all going to make money, right? And so that's the key thing here, right? Like get started in 30 to 60 days real quick, right? Instead of spending, you know, years maximizing and figuring out and putting, again, that IKEA set together, you don't have to do that, right? So even at 5 grand, guys, even if it was 5 grand, with a value of over $34,000, right? You can see why it's a good deal at 5,000. Now, for the general public, it's usually $997, right? Like for me to spill the beans, it's usually about $1,000, right? Now, because you guys are part of the BPM RIA, because you guys are here on this webinar and it's late, it's 8:30. You guys are still here with me. We're gonna, the special offer is this, guys. You get started now for $399. Well, members $399, non-members pay $499. That's it. For $399, you guys are gonna figure out. You guys are gonna get so much in-depth knowledge, and you're gonna get such a perspective. Like you're gonna be able to see very clearly down that tunnel that you're already looking through. Because if you're on this webinar, and most of you are on, like this is the time to take action, guys. This is the time to get on the field. This is the time to make it happen, to shoot your shot, Again, you have two choices. You have the choice. Do nothing, not take the leap of faith in yourself and not do it, right? And it was good information and, or go to the link now and make this small investment tonight. And compared to all the value that you're going to get, I mean, it's almost like a no-brainer, right? If I can't help you, I don't deserve your money, right? So we have a money back guarantee. If you don't, for any reason, think that you got value out of this, we'll give you your money back. No questions asked. We want folks that are going to get the full amount of value out of this. The real question is it worth gambling a few hours to check this out, right? Is it worth it? And if it does even half of what I say, right? Like if you only learn half of the stuff that I'm really claiming that I'm going to teach you, then, I don't deserve your money, right? The training will pay for itself, right? It's almost like it leaves me speechless because it's like it's a no-brainer, guys. Again, it's a value of $34,000. The stuff that I'm going to be teaching on that platform or during the workshop is going to be I mean, if anything, it's probably worth a little bit more than that. But here's the special gift, right? So a lot of people have signed up, and I keep extending this gift out, and it's been reduced, right? You got to get them while you can, right? Because that's it. There's only 10 people that I'm doing this with because it's a lot of time. I'll give you a one-on-one 30-minute consultation for free, right? It'll come with the workshop. You guys choose the time and day, right, of when you guys get to do it. I prefer you guys do it after the workshop because then your questions will be more in depth. And some of the questions that you guys will have will probably be answered during the workshop. So if you guys take out your phone right now, okay, if you guys haven't yet, take out your phone. I'll take a quick 2 seconds to let you guys go ahead and scan this. Okay. It's only good, right, for a limited amount of time. Okay. This is, the whole point is this, guys. I want you guys to take action now. I don't want you guys to stay in the stands. I don't want you guys to, worry about, how can I do this? And if you guys have questions or concerns, please put them into the question and answer, because I'm sure that whatever concerns and questions you might have, you're not the only one. Okay. So put them in the questions and answer the Q&A box. Okay. So guys, remember again, it's $399 for non-members, or excuse me, members $399, non-members are $499. Okay. Now this is the opportunity for questions. This is just a video of my property. Let me put it on loop. If I can, I guess I can. There we go. So yeah, let's look. Would you increase liability if you book direct? So that's a great question, Yannick. We actually, you want to have the right insurance, whether or not you're, you are booking direct. You always want to have the right type of insurance. There's different types of insurance, and we're going to be getting into that during the workshop. Okay, we're going to be going into a lot of detail about that. That's a great question, by the way. The cost for the workshop. Okay, cool. So the cost for the workshop is $3.99 for members, and non-members is $4.99. Okay. So yeah, guys, I see that, like, you know, almost all of you that were on the webinar are still on. Again, guys, you know, now's the time, you know, especially if you have questions, you know, please let me know.
I
When
have
you-
to tell you, Antonio, one thing. I know this is a little bit off topic, but I've been getting a lot of calls about your coaching, a one-on-one coaching. And I just want to kind of, I know you mentioned it on the last webinar, but you're gonna start doing this probably after the workshop, right? Like if you were to do one-on-one coaching, you'd start that after the workshops. I have a lot of people asking for your phone number, for your email. They've been waiting to get in touch with you because they're just really excited about the
Yeah.
workshop. They're signed up already for the workshop. So what's kind of your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, if you know what I'd say is this: if you want to have the one-on-one coaching, like if you're convinced about the one-on-one coaching, that one is going to be $49.97. What I do is I give you 12 weeks of coaching, of one-on-one coaching. During that time, we're going to go through everything. I'm also going to make myself completely open to you as far as my business. I'm going to give you all the messaging templates, the house rules that I use. I'll put you together with different software companies and the hardware companies to set up your. I'm essentially going to help you set up your short-term rental. You know, and I also do I also add on to that a virtual walk through the home. So what I do is that, you know, we'll get on a WhatsApp call or whatnot, and then we'll walk through the property, right? And I'll give you pointers like, hey, it's huge. It lasts usually like about like 30 minutes to an hour because of the conversation that we have. So that's a really big deal, right? Because a lot of folks, you know, they want to know from a professional what it is that they should be doing as far as like the colors or the lighting or the furniture, right? And so that's part of one of the things that I do as far as that coaching is involved.
And guys, I just want to thank you all for still staying on. I want to repeat it one more time what you guys got for bonuses tonight. You guys now obviously know this is a money back guarantee. First 5 people to purchase by tomorrow at midnight will get a free 30-minute consultation with Antonio. Your cameras and microphones will be on for the online training on Saturday, September 30th. And I did pop Antonio's Instagram in the chat. He is always dropping tips in there on, you know, wholesaling, short-term rental, all the different deals that he does. So he's also a realtor as well. So guys, he's very well-rounded. And I think it was pretty obvious tonight how passionate Antonio is about short-term rental. I mean, I've been to this property before. We brought 3 busloads of NFL players, Miami Dolphins players, as well as other retired NFL players. 2 rounds of 3 busloads of men have walked through here, and they were able to take away a lot of information from Antonio. So this is not their forte, as we know, you know, they're better on the field than in the business conference room, but they were able to grasp it. Antonio is able to do this. He's been through our coaching program. I can't stress it enough. If you have a property, if you want to do short-term rental, if you are looking for a property, there's so many reasons why you guys should join this. And yes, there have already been a lot of people who've joined this already. So you guys want to get in and get that free consultation as well. You want to get the most out of your money. And
Yeah, just a consult is worth like $3.99, to be honest with you. Yeah.
And anyone who wants to watch the replay, it will be posted to our YouTube channel in 48 hours. So please share this with anyone else, your business partner, anyone who couldn't make it tonight, because we want to get you guys locked in before September 30th to make sure you guys have a good experience in this workshop with Antonio, where he is going to tell you literally everything. We were running tonight. We were running a marathon tonight, guys. It's not going to be the same experience in the workshop. We're going to be able to get into it. Your cameras will be on. You'll actually be able to talk with us. over camera. So it's going to be much more interactive than tonight, taking it to a whole nother level. So thank you guys so much. It's okay, Sharon, we'll forgive you. You have deals coming, I know. So don't worry. Love Sharon. Haven't heard from you in a while, but thank you guys so much for coming in tonight. We know we are going a little bit over time now, but I will send each and every one of you a thank you email. Going to follow up with you guys, get you the information you need for Saturday. We have a lot more events coming up this end of the month, so let's get organized. Antonio and I, we're still getting it back. We were on the West Coast. We're 3 hours behind for the last week. So we are, we're getting our gears going right now. And we're going to be so ready to rock and roll by, next week even. We're already ready, but we'll be even more ready by next week. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Antonio.
Yeah, I see there's still 13 people, guys. So before we get off, take out your phone, scan it, and I'll see you guys at the workshop, okay?
Good
Bye,
night,
everybody.
everyone. Thank you so much, guys.
Hurry before we go. Scan the code.
Let's go. Look out for my email as well. I'll be sending everyone an email right now.
Bye,
Bye,
guys. Thank you, Alexa.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.